About a month ago, I made the mistake of playing a game that I believed was a story about some girl who suddenly wanted to make music. This game was heavily story driven, and it had minimal gameplay. I don't want to mention the name of the game, even though I know I should for the sake of... Let me continue. The game started off quite normal. It had the familiar feel of a visual novel game with all the saving and loading, dialogue, skipping and reading. Very little choice in between that affected the story to some extent that I never realised, but most importantly it was boring. I never liked reading. I hated it so much, so playing a visual novel was worse than reading a normal novel to me. I was just doing this as a favour that was asked of me by my friend Julie. I still hate her for throwing this heavy weight on me. And I know some will hate me for throwing this ever-growing weight on you this time. Let me go back to the game now. The character I was playing as was now sitting at her computer ready to make music. She got to the point where she wanted to choose the type of beat drop for her track. The game lets me choose 3 different choices: a weak drop, loud, and very loud. I went for the very loud option right away. The character then started saying how she was finally going to be the best music maker, something everyone knows you can't achieve overnight. And then the game progressed and played her track. I listened to it, and to be honest, it sounded decent, not until I got to the drop. When the beat dropped, I fell off my chair and my headset fell to the ground. Thankfully, it didn't break. What happened when the beat dropped was too unexpected. It was like a jump scare. I hated that portion until today. However, what happened afterwards is what's interesting. The game started giving out errors like the software had broken or something. I then saw the errors and read them closely. The errors kept saying that the file audio.rpy had been corrupted. At first I thought it was some joke and the game was playing around with me. I thought the story was supposed to be like that the game was actually a horror. But no. I wish it were the case. That error was real. When I tried to save the game, thinking I'd gotten to a very major point, I saw the settings of the game. They weren't the same as before. Something was wrong with the audio settings. Just the audio settings. Everything else was fine. The audio settings were off. They were glitched in some fashion. Is this some detailing? I told myself. When I looked back at the game, I saw the character was now asking for help while collapsed on the table from the headset explosion that happened from the beat drop. The explosion that freaked me out. I clicked all the options that appeared on the screen, and her mother came in just in time to save her. The character was saved, and I moved through a loading screen. The next set of events happened too quickly for me to handle them very well. They were confusing, you see. The character said she was put into a hospital and that she was fine. Her ears were feeling okay and the explosion did nothing too bad. I found it weird as you could never survive something like that. The character then went on saying that she could still hear something odd after the event. Her ears were okay, everything was okay, but she was still hearing static and seeing weird visions. As the character rested in her bed, her mother walked in. She gave her breakfast and everything seemed back in order. The story suddenly forgot that a headset blew up and messed up a file. The error was still there though, on the settings menu. The audio settings were still glitched. It was odd. Something felt wrong. At that point I recalled something Julie had told me about the game. She said that the game wasn't actually a game, and that there was something messed up behind it. At the time I laughed and thought of it as a joke, but as the game continued to progress, the more I continued to circle with those words in my head. Something was messed up here. This game is not right. I was now deep in the game when I got to the point where the main character was being harassed by her teacher. She kept fighting him off, but at some point I was given the option to either allow the harassment or to stop it. I obviously stopped it, but for some reason it kept leading me to the character's death. The character would always say that everyone had left her and she was alone, and eventually she would hang herself. I was starting to feel sick of the game. It felt like it glorified these dark matters so harshly. I left the game at that point for a couple of weeks, but then I thought about it again and I suddenly wanted to play it more. I wanted to see why my friend Julie had asked me to play it. Julie wasn't into this dark type of stuff at all, mind you. She's very oriented towards happy and casual games. She would never send this my way. She just knew I was able to do something about the game. What that something is, I don't know. But I never realised that I was close to finding that out. I jumped back in and loaded my most recent save. The main character, who was still in front of her teacher about to be harassed, this character who I knew was just script. She looked weird. Her character sprite was of her looking down very glum, and I couldn't see her eyes. It was like these moments in anime when a character would be scared of something and their upper face blackens. She then said something which I thought was part of the script. Let him do it. I looked at that dialogue and felt a chill down my spine. Was that there before? I never read that bit of text before. It was not supposed to be there. She then spoke again. Please, just listen to me. You aren't playing the G word. You are playing something else. G word? What was that? I asked myself. Listen to me, please. The last person that played this G word before you screwed up and was scared away. This G word will try whatever it can to scare you. This isn't real. The game glitched for a second before the character's dialogue reappeared. Damn this! She said as the screen shook, and then she continued after being quiet for a few seconds. When I say G word, I mean the word of what you are playing now. I can't say that word because it will hear me and it will fix my script. At this point I was freaking out. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know whether this was real or fake, whether the dialogue was supposed to be going this way or if it was just some big prank. As I looked at the screen with my mouth open, the character spoke again. Look, I know that you think this is a G word. It's not. I'm not supposed to be here. You hear me? Please understand. The last thing I remember was going to some coffee shop. I was kidnapped and then I woke up here. What I read was concerning. Was this actually real? I don't think so. It's just a game, I thought. I looked for the quit button of the game and left. This wasn't my type of game. And then I went to play different things. Now, this is what made me write this and what made me leave that game forever. Hate me as much as you want, but I can't be a part of this. It's too much for me. You save her. You do it. Not me. You do it. When I was walking down the street last night, I saw a missing persons poster, and the face of the character from the game was on the paper. It was there. I am not lying. When I saw it, my heart sank so low, and I instantly regretted being a part of this. The name of this person was Lolita Ermher. She was 19 years old and had the same hair and face as the one in the game. She was reported missing about a few months back. When I got back home, I deleted the game. I don't know if this is a prank or if Julie is messing with me, but if this is real, I want you to look into it. Please, help me. I can't sleep at night knowing that someone who needed my help is probably dead now. I know I sound stupid, but you must look into it. If this issue is real, this person must be saved before they die. If you want the game, it's called Sound is Toxic. Don't look into it unless you really, really need to investigate this. I will never talk about this again. Just deal with it or just leave it alone.